Welcome to Sevinne, the Chronoclasm. As far as our opening hand goes, we've got Wasteland. Yeah, we've got 4 lands, Chromatic Lantern, Think Twice. Yeah, this is fine. You know, if we wanted to mulligan, we could to be a little bit more aggressive, but I certainly like this. We've got all the mana we need. We've got a little bit of a utility land just in case our opponent gets done something kind of crazy, like Maze of Ith. And then other than that, we've got a little bit of a cantrip, a Think Twice, an Artifact, and Marshalling Cry. That way, hopefully we can get some tokens on the battlefield and have some fun. And also, playing gets Rhys the Exiled? I can't remember. So it's either Rhys or Rise, not Rise, but yeah, I always get it mixed up in my head because I always pronounce it the wrong way, and it's always like, nah, you're almost there. You got it wrong. So let's go and lead off with Wooded Foothills. Let's grab ourselves a blue-red source. Let's grab a Steam Vents. That way we can have that come into play tapped. And then we're going to cover our commanders. So let's grab the Steam Vents. There we go. Not going to pay 2 life. And anything else, we're going to go and pass the turn over to our opponent. So also, this is a Good Morning Vietnam video. So it's about 6 o'clock in the morning. And so... good morning if you're drinking some coffee or some tea this morning. I'm drinking some tea. So we're playing Sevinne, the Chronoclasm. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to Sevinne, the Chronoclasm. Then whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell from your graveyard each turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. And I love this commander. I've gotten in one game with it, and I know that may not be enough to say that you love the commander, but that one game was enough to be like, yes, this is exactly what I want to happen with this build. So let's go ahead and crack Bloodstained Mire. Let's get this popped out. I think we'll just grab, well, either way, we'll still need another blue-red source. So we'll just go ahead and grab a Volcanic Island, and then pass the turn to our opponent. So prevent all combat damage would be dealt to our commander. Then, yeah, that's it. There we go. And then, yeah, cast it out of the graveyard, get an extra copy. So, playing against Rhys the Exiled. Whenever Rhys the Exiled attacks, you gain 1 life for each elf you control. Then, for a 1 black mana activation, sacrifice an elf, regenerate Rhys the Exiled. So, and if I'm saying that wrong, I do apologize. But that's what's going to be for the rest of the video. So, Windswept Heath. We've already run into both of our mountains. We can still end up going Windswept Heath on Chromatic Lantern. Yeah, I kind of like that. You know, I know statistically deck thinning with a bunch of fetch lands like this is not really going to make that much of a difference, but it always feels better being able to just grab lands out of the library. So let's grab Tundra. Let's go for Chromatic Lantern. That's going to enter the battle. This is going to go for Sevinne next turn and really get this game going. So anything else? Pass the turn over to our opponent. So we did cover both commanders. Give a quick shout out to our sponsors, MTGOTraders. You can build your very own flashback graveyard deck. Hey, head on over there. They've got all the cards you may need to choose from. And of course, make sure you toss in some of those token enablers. And let's give a quick shout out to inkgaming.com. If you want to check out my merch booth, I do have a merch booth set up over there. Go to their website, type in Jolt539 to see all my cool merch, or just simply use coupon code JOLT to get 10% off anything off the website. And last but not least, I started a Patreon. So if you'd like to contribute to the Patreon, there's a link down in the description below. You can support cool content like this. And if you can't do that, hey, tell somebody about the channel. I would that's one way you can support it. I would greatly appreciate it. Now that's it. It's officially free time. Let's have some fun. All right, so we're drawing into some pretty good options out of the graveyard. So let's go Glacial Fortress, because we just basically want to get our commander down at this point. If our opponent's got some spot removal, they've got it. So we're going to try to set this up to where we get our commander down. There we go. The last game that I played with Sevinne is that we had Monastery Mentor down. And I made because we've got a really good flashback quasi-duplicate. We got Jumpstart out of the graveyard to make a copy of a token, that is a copy of a creature that we control. So with quasi-duplicate, I made a copy of Monastery Mentor. Then we got the copy effect from Sevinne out of the graveyard, so we had an extra copy of Monastery Mentor. So it's just kind of got to this point to where you would cast a spell, and you end up with like 3 monk tokens per spell, and then you have Rally the Peasants. Yeah, Rally the Peasants. It's a 3 mana instant white spell that your creatures get +2/+0. Then it has the flashback for 1 red 2/0. And so basically you can just get into this point to where you like cast it, flash it back, you get the copy effect from Sevinne, end up with a lot of monk token. I don't know, it's just a very, very thriving board state, and it felt really good. So hopefully we can find one of these token enablers to really have some fun. Now, our opponent did get down Whip of Erebos. That will give them some lifelink, so that's something that we want to keep in mind, which is going to make it a little bit harder for us to close it out. Now, what we've got going on right now is probably just going to go Think Twice. Like I mentioned, we just really want to get some sort of movement out of our graveyard, or at least just maybe like an extra land draw, extra card draw or something like that. So let's go for Think Twice. Ooh, Sword of Feast and Famine. That is a really good option in a deck like this. I think we still want to end up going for Think Twice because that's going to be 2 card draw this turn. So I kind of like going for that. So we're going to be able to copy Think Twice, cash in a card draw, see what we run into. And see, just little things like this. It's just really nice value plays, getting to draw 2 cards, run into, okay, that's going to be pretty good. So let's go Clifftop Retreat. We're going to have Soul Ring enter the battlefield. And that's going to make it to where we don't have to discard. And then anything else for 2. No, I think we're going to go and pass the turn. So we can still go and push him with Sevinne, but I think with them having a lifelink, prevent all combat, yeah, we'll still end up taking care of that elf if they want to block. So let's go and push him for 2. And the way we've got this deck set up is, I have talked about a lot of kind of token enablers, different things like that. We are running a very, very small Voltron package in here, and that's Voltron package is basically Sword of Feast and Famine. We've got Sword of Truth and Justice and Sword of Sinew and Steel. Other than that, that's it. We're not going super crazy. I think we might have, no, we don't even have Key to the City in here. So basically, any sort of Voltron stuff in here is basically just allowing us just to, like, hey, we just drew in a Sword of Feast of Famine. We're playing against a Golgari deck. Awesome. So we're going to kind of push this weird little Voltron style deck because there are some times where we have maximum velocity, marshalling cry, to where we can kind of set up this Voltron threatening board state. But most of the time, the game plan that we are trying to go for is building up a lot of tokens on the battlefield. So our opponent ends up going for Wrath's Contempt. That's going to put Sevinne at 7 total mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 9 with the land drop. So I'd like to set it up to where we can go Sword of Feast and Famine and get protection on Sevinne all in one turn. And they've got 3 cards left in their library. Yeah, I think I kind of like just doing some really nice setting up. So let's go for 3 and Dynamo because that's really going to open us up on mana. That's going to be 1, 2. We don't really have a ton of flashback going out of the graveyard right now, so it's really not going to make that big of a difference either way. So let's have 3 and Dynamo enter the battlefield. I will be able to make the land drop for the turn. This is going to be 1, 2, 3 for Sword of Feast and Famine. And what we can actually end up doing is just go for a Sonic Assault to tap down one of these creatures and kind of just reduce the amount of damage that we're going to take. So let's have Sacred Foundry enter the battlefield, not going to pay 2 life, and then that'll set us up to where we can really get down Sevinne next turn and get down Sword of Feast and Famine. We can even go for maximum velocity to untap our land. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. A lot of these maximum velocity, we end up with a lot of tokens. Probably going to try to, with maximum velocity, that does help us with Sevinne out of the graveyard, but there's just sometimes where we get down Dawson of Perfection and we get the wizard to flip because Sevinne is a wizard, and so it's just really nice to kind of have these extra like ways that we can actually kind of give different creatures haste outside of just going full on Voltron with Sevinne. So I do have a ton of Voltron decks out there, so when it came to build Sevinne, and then the other cool thing is just when you're playing Jeskai, Jeskai just caters so well to just kind of this good stuff style deck to where you can just build this value board state. So let's go ahead and tap down Sonic. So we're going to tap down, I think, yeah, that'll be good. So we just tap down Rhys the Exiled. So that's going to be blue. That's going to be red. Tap down one more. It's going to be 2 damage up top. Going to get rid of some of that lifelink and tap down Rhys. That way we're only taking 2 this turn. That'll put us down to 15. And we'll be good to go. So once we get down to Sword of Feast and Famine, that'll really help us get some good stuff going. So they're going to swing in for 2. We could maybe kind of cycle Marshalling Crime. That'll still give us a flashback out of the graveyard if we want to try to get a little bit of extra value. So, ooh, run into Wear Tear and... I mean, we run into Wear Tear, and that's going to hit Whip of Erebos and Herald's Horn. Ooh, that's a beautiful... that's a pretty rough hit. So let's go for Wasteland. And let's go this. Let's go Sevinne first. We're going to try to get down Sevinne as quickly as possible. It's going to be 1, 2, 3. Let's tap down for Jeskai colors. It's going to be red and blue and then white. Have Sevinne enter the battlefield. Let's use that last colorless mana to equip a Sword of Feast and Famine. There we go. I'm just going to equip it on. That's going to allow us to untap our lands, and I think we still might end up going for that Marshalling Cry out of the graveyard. So let's go maximum velocity on Sevinne. And the good thing with us getting Sword of Feast and Famine onto Sevinne is that we're pretty much in a good spot now to where the only thing that's going to make a difference is some sort of target player sacrifices a creature. So it's almost kind of like the coast is clear for us to start swinging in. Now with this Whip of Erebos, as much as I don't want to just beat our opponent while they're down, we're still going to end up having to go for wear tear, simply just because Whip of Air getting a 2-for-1 off wear tear is going to be a very nice feeling. So we do have haste. We could go for Sonic Assault to get this extra value out of the graveyard, but at this point, I kind of like cashing this in. So let's go ahead and go for Fuse. We're going to choose Whip of Airbows. Actually, we'll do it this way. We're going to choose the Fuse option. We're going to choose Artifact and then Enchantment, and then red, white, and then opponent just said mega oof. Yeah, that is a mega oof that we got a good 2-for-1. So I'm just going to push in with Sevinne. That's going to be 5 coming across. And that's the other good thing is that even if we're not pushing this token strategy to where we're, right now we don't have this crazy monastery mentor board state, just simply just slamming down a Sword of Feast and Famine and swinging in for some commander damage is, it's going to take about 3 or 4 more combat swings to get this, but we can try to get it done. So let's go ahead and make them discard a card. We're going to untap all of our lands. And yeah, I think we still might end up going for the cycling or marshalling crime because we're pretty much, if we want marshalling crime pretty bad out of the graveyard, we're just going to go for the flashback anyway. And we have a few other flashback options too. So let's go ahead and go for the cycle option. It's going to be cycle for 2 mana. And then Talisman of Progress. Now that does put us in a position to where we're still probably going to be able to go for Sonic. Yeah, we've got a ton of mana, so we might as well just hold on to Talisman of Progress to get rid of it for Sonic Assault. Because what we can end up doing with that is once we go to our combat step, we can tap them down. Now with us being at 15, probably... Ooh, yeah, I was about to say, with us being at 15, but that Bajuka Bog, so we're definitely going to go that. We're going to go for Joiner Adept. We're going to tap that down. That's going to be red, blue. And that's not too bad. Getting hit with the Bajuka Bog, it's not the end of the world. And we're going to get a copy off of this. So there we go. Let's go and tap down Rhys the Exiled. There we go. So that's going to put them down to 33. Tap down their creatures and at least buy us just an extra, kind of fog of style effect. Because like I mentioned, we are at 15, and once we get down into the teens, it's going to be a little bit hard for us to deal with that. So our opponent did say they're going to go down swinging, so I appreciate the the effort from them. Let's go and push in with Sevinne. That's going to be 4 coming across. Drawing the Talisman of Creativity, which is... not that creative at this point right now with this board state, so we're going to go and swing in for 4. Put them down to 29, make them discard a card. We get down and tap our lands, but there's just really not much that we can be doing at this point. And so we'll go and pass the turn back over to our opponent. We will talk about the deck a little bit. So as far as the other options out of the graveyard, besides, something like Sword of Feast and Famine being the little Voltron package, one of the main things that we are running, we're running a lot of flashback in here. We did see some of the jumpstart spells, which work out perfectly for this deck. We're going to have a lot of card advantage. We are in Jeskai colors, and so we can, discarding a card. See, at this point, we've got a ton of mana on the battlefield. We just discard a Talisman of Creativity, and we can get that jump start going. We also are running the Aftermath, so a few of those cards in here. That kind of works out with some wheel effects if we end up running something like Wheel of Fortune to go for that. So, and the cool thing about this game's not won by our opponent. We do have a little bit more value on our side, but I mean, we've got this kind of like fighting with silverware almost style fight where we're like crawling on the ground trying to close the game out because they're swinging in for 5 for turn, so it's a 2-turn clock, and then we're trying to get a 2-turn clock going on our side. Dovin's Acuity. So let's go and have that enter the battlefield. That'll actually really help out in this race that I was just talking about. It always feels good when you get this just random card that's like, yes. All right. So we're gonna have this enter the battlefield. We're gonna gain 2 life, draw a card, and then this is one of those cards that it doesn't really fit on theme with Sevinne, out of the graveyard. But there's just a lot of times, like right now, we just gain that 2 life. It helps with a lot of these activations, and Path to Exile. Okay. All right. So let's go and push in with Sevinne. Yeah, and I think we probably should have sequenced this just a little bit differently. So we're going to go for Sevinne. We're going to make them discard that last card in their hand. We have Path to Exile. We're going to give them another land, but we kind of really want to make sure that we're going to getting some pretty good stuff. Our Vampiric Tutor. All right, so looking at shuffle of a library, put it on top, and then they lose 2 life. So what's going to end up happening with this Path to Exile, once they put this card on top of their library, if they don't want to grab the land, then that's fine. They'll leave that card on top. But If they, grab the land on the battlefield, or at least put it onto the battlefield, that's going to make them shuffle their library. So, all right, so it's going to make them discard a card. There's no cards from the discard. We're going to untap our lands. And then with Dovin, whenever you cast an instant spell during your main phase, you get to return it. So let's go for a Path to Exile on Rhys the Exiled. Yeah, because that's going to allow us to do is bring this back to our hand and go for another cast. So bring this back to our hand. If they want to end up going for the Path to Exile, that's going to, like I mentioned, it's going to get rid of that Vampiric Tutor. So we'll see what they end up deciding to go for. Okay, so they end up grabbing a 4. So let's go for Dovin's Acuity. I think that's how you say it. It is early in the morning, so I do apologize if I'm just like rolling stop signs a lot of the pronunciation of some of these words. So we're going to have this enter the battlefield. We're going to have the DA and, oh, Faithless Looting. Okay. Yeah, that's really going to allow us to draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards. Yeah, we might as well just go ahead and dig a little bit. Yeah, because at this point, we're going to draw 2 cards. We're going to have to get rid of Talisman either way. And at least next time, we're going to have Faithless Looting and the... Oh, yes. Okay. Ionis Grace. Let's discard Talisman of Creativity. And we're going to get rid of... I think actually Ionis Grace is going to allow us to discard Prismatic Vista next turn. Yeah, that'll be pretty good. And so we're going to hold on to Prismatic Vista, and then we're going to go and pass the turn over to our opponent. So I do apologize. This is not a crazy showing of Sevinne. We're not getting a lot of tokens down. For some reason, we're at turn 9, and we just haven't been running into a lot of card advantage. So, but we're going to try to close this one out. And, simply just casting stuff that are instant speed during our main phase with Dovin to get some card draw and get a little bit of extra life gain. That does end up making a difference. So, all right, Opponent's going to get Rhys the Exile down, and then next turn we'll end up, see what we hit for the turn, and then we'll go for this Faceless Looting in Ionis Grace. So, all right, run into Fiery. Since we do have Sword of Feast and Famine, let's just go ahead and go for this right now. So we're going to go for Ionis Grace. We're going to retrace out of the graveyard, and that's going to be 1-2, because that's going to give us the best bet of going for this Faithless Looting. So there we go. So let's go and discard, actually, Prismatic. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll get rid of Prismatic Vista, because at this point, that's going to allow us to at least kind of go for a card draw if we need to. So yes, we're going to bring that back to the hand. And we're going to keep the same target on this one. We're going to draw a card. That's going to be a good value for us. So target player draws a card. Ooh, there we go. Now we're getting some tokens. So this going to be Young Pyromancer. And we can actually go for Ionis Grace again. But now that we've got a little bit of extra value built out of our graveyard, so let's just go for Faithless Looting, because that's going to allow us to dig 4 cards deeper into our library. So let's go Faithless Looting. And with Flashback, it doesn't count towards Young Pyromancer, so that's kind of what's going on. So let's discard Mountain, Battlefield Forge. Oh, and excuse me, when you cast your first instant or sorcery spell for each turn, I get mixed up on that one. All right, so we're going to get rid of that colorless. So we can actually go for Grace next turn. So let's go for Young Pyromancer. We're going to have the end of the battlefield. We're going to gain 2 life and draw a card. And that's going to allow us to gain 2 life. And then we'll still go ahead and swing in because we need to get that. There we go. All right, so let's go and swing in Sevinne. That's going to be a 4-4 coming across. That's going to put them at 19 total commander damage. And then next turn, we'll be able to go for Ionis Grace. Now, we could end up going for Wheel of Fortune, but that's going to allow our opponent to draw a fresh grip and then untap. That's going to be some stuff that we may not want to... maybe not exactly want to end up going for. So now we did draw to Refuse to Cooperate. And yeah, I think at this point, we're simply just going to go and pass the turn, because I like holding on to Fiery, and that way we go for Ionis Grace next turn. That's not going to allow us to go for Young Pyromancer just yet, but if we wanted to, we can actually, because we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we have 8 total mana, and we can go for Grace and go for Refuse out of the graveyard. We'll end up taking a little bit of damage off that, but that'll allow us to end up going for the Aftermath effect out of the graveyard and copy a few extra things, so that might actually end up working out for us. So good game to our opponent. They're going to scoop it up on this one. I don't blame them. We've got commander damage next turn. Unless they get a sacrifice effect, they're going to be able to do something like about that. So, and unfortunately, with us having Young Pyromancer, we're going to slowly be able to build these tokens. Even if we didn't have commander damage lethal next turn, we're going to be able to kind of dodge any sort of sacrifice effect. So, you can see where we're able to get it done. Wasn't that clean? Well, it was actually a pretty decent showing of Sevinne. It just wasn't that explosive of a showing. But even if we don't get a ton of tokens on the battlefield, you can simply just grind it out with a little Voltron package and, just get lucky with something like Sword of Feast and Famine. So if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.